What is up, basketball fans? This is Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast brought to you by Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. Go check them out if you're in the Houston area. They've got great wings, great people, great beer. Go check out Big City Wings today in the Houston area. This podcast is also brought to you by Celebrity Mint. Go check out celebritymint.com to see their graded legal tender collectibles of Mike Tyson, Ric Flair, and more. And our daily fantasy sponsor is Prize Picks. Use code Apollo at checkout when you deposit up to $100 matched with your first deposit with Prize Picks. Use code Apollo. You can pick more or less on points, rebounds, assists, and more through the NBA, college basketball, NFL, MLB. MLB season's right around the corner here, a few days away. Soccer, they got esports. They got all the things at Prize Picks. Daily fantasy app. Use code Apollo when you first sign up. Deposit up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Shout out to Prize Picks. Love Prize Picks here at Apollo HOU. I am joined by the What We Learned Houston Rockets edition king, Josh Garcia. How we doing, bud?
Ooh, everything's happening. Isn't
a lot
it?
of things are happening.
You feel it. Diddy is gone. Dunzo. Everything is happening in the NBA. Everything's happening in March Madness here. I don't even know where to begin with myself. Ohtani's gone. He's done. He might get the boot for life. Dude? Where do we even go from here? I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm a little confused by the timeline because there's a lot of MLB personalities are saying I believe what Shohei Ohtani is saying in his press conference with no questions, and he read off a teleprompter or a piece of paper, whatever it was. I didn't watch the 11-minute clip because I didn't care. All I know is we went through this as Astros fans. We went through a press conference where there was no questions. We read off a piece of paper or a teleprompter. Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve. Shohei Ohtani does the same thing today. Allegedly, his translator was placing bets and then getting Ohtani to pay his debts off. And during the Korea series, Ohtani says, yeah, I paid off his debts. And then today in the press conference, he's saying that Ipe or whatever his name, the translator, stole the money from his account and paid off his debts that way. So which is it, Shohei? Are you the better? Is he the better? Did you pay off the debts? Did he steal the money from you? Because you were laughing with him during the Korea series in the dugout, acting like your buddy. I don't know. I hope Ohtani gets the same kind of flack the Astros did, or at least something similar to it, because
right.
What are we fucking doing here? And Pete Rose, also still kind of a piece of shit, and is now saying that Ohtani didn't really do anything wrong. So of course you didn't, buddy.
Of course.
I don't care for it, but this is not an MLB podcast. What we are going to talk about is NBA betting. Because
there you go.
What a bombshell. Right before we hop on, about an hour or two ago, I guess this dropped from Woj. Raptors' Jonte Porter is getting an NBA investigation launched on him for sports betting, collaboration, interesting things. If you don't know Jonte Porter, I didn't know that Jonte Porter existed until today. I knew that Michael Porter Jr. had a brother. I just didn't understand that Jonte Porter was Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. Turns out, I know his family is full of athletes, and they're like Olympians and professional athletes. It's crazy. They just come from the background of athletes. So ESPN has an article from Woj, I would assume is who wrote this. I got it from a screenshot on Twitter because I didn't click the article. On March 20th, in a game against the Phoenix Suns, Porter played just 3 minutes before leaving the game due to what Raptors said was an illness and did not return. He did not score, attempted and missed one shot, and had 2 rebounds. Sportsbooks had his over-under set at 7.5 points and 5.5 rebounds. So obviously he hit the under there. The next day, DraftKings Sportsbooks reported to its users that Porter's prop bets were the number one moneymaker from that night in the NBA. In a game on January 26th against the Los Angeles Clippers, there was increased betting interest on the under for Porter props. That's a tongue twister there. Yeah. Which for the night were set at 5.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. There was also an over-under for Porter's made 3-pointers, which was at 0.5. That night, Porter played just 4 minutes before leaving the game due to what Raptors said was a re-aggravation of an eye injury he had suffered 4 days earlier in a game against the Memphis Grizzlies. He did not score in the game against the Clippers. He had 3 rebounds and 1 assist and did not attempt a single 3. meaning the under hit on all of his props. The next day, a part of the daily report to users on betting results, DraftKings Sportsbooks reports that the under for Porter's three-pointers was the biggest moneymaker for bettors of the NBA player props from the games that evening. Porter played 19 minutes 2 days later and scored 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. Jonte, are you placing the
Whew.
bets? Are you just telling your boys to place the bets and then they give you a little something on the top there? What are we doing? You can't be stupid in this day and age when everybody is watching, everybody is betting. You can't do it. You just can't do it. You just can't.
No. This is the results of years of gambling ads and all this crazy stuff being pushed on us. And if you look at Calvin Ridley, I mean, Otani just a week ago, I this is the trickle down effect almost that you're seeing, and I don't really see it getting much better. I mean, the fact that Jonte Porter is essentially I'd imagine getting a kickback from somebody on this, and he's on a not even
He's
veteran
making
minimum. How much money is he
450K a
making?
year on NBA contracts. So it's not like he's
So
actually making less than league minimum. I think league minimum is like
yeah. This is a
950K or
two way
something.
deal or
Yeah,
something, a year long 2 way deal. I
something
don't
like
know
that.
what's going
Yeah.
on. So if there's any player to be susceptible enough or stupid enough, we'll say that, to do this or be a part of this, it's going to be someone like him. And it's unfortunate because this Raptors team has just been full of vibes all season. I mean, they're
The
not
power of
great.
friendship,
I'm
as
not.
some
I'm
people
not
say.
saying they're great vibes. They're vibes, and the fact that this is going to be even more of a stain on what's turned out to be not a great season. I mean, they're undergoing an entire rebuild, and this is what's smack dab on the third layer of the cake on
Yeah.
top of it. That this stinks, man, and I don't really see much of this getting better because just look at the amount of like I mentioned earlier, all the stuff that's being pushed towards us to gamble. I went across state lines, hit a parlay. I felt crazy 2 days ago. Not gambling advice. Don't do that unless you have business in other states.
Prize
Don't do
Picks
that.
is not
But
gambling, by the way. It's a daily fantasy app. So if you want to use Prize
oh
Picks, when you sign up, use code Apollo, and you can get up to $100 match on your first deposit. I'm just saying.
yeah, there you go. This is daily. This is not daily fantasy advice. Do not. Also, I avoid player props
Yeah.
altogether. I'll never tell someone what to do. But I'm just telling you, I can never really get behind it. Why would I bet on an individual? I get scared. I get really scared
It's a little
easily.
dicier.
I like watching the
Yeah.
team. I like watching the teams play. Luca will hit almost every time, but well, not daily fantasy
No.
advice. But Jonte Porter of all people to do this. I'm going to be real. I've heard of the guy maybe once before this entire thing was going down, and I consider myself a somewhat, yeah, I get into the NBA whenever we're doing a show on the NBA. I mean, you got to, but I'll even be honest with you at the time when I heard you say, yeah, I don't really know who this dude is. I was like, shit. If it wasn't for this and maybe another Lakers game that they played or something this year, I wouldn't have no idea either. It's really easy to miss people in this league nowadays.
I mean, I've watched
If I didn't see Luke.
literally 3 Raptors games this year. 1 against the Rockets and 2 against the Mavericks. For whatever reason, I paid for the
Right.
Rockets Raptors one night. Yeah, I didn't remember him. I don't think I watched him play. If he did, I didn't notice him. But I also didn't notice that Siakam was on the floor against against the Mavericks when he was on the Pacers. That second matchup against the Pacers, and I was like, "Oh, Siakam's on the Pacers." Forgot that he
Ooh.
plays here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you kinda shit the
I will
bed there.
say, maybe not the most observant person of all time, but like,
You and me
if he's making
both.
450K a year, he's not on the floor a lot. I mean, it's just a brutal display of just incompetence, especially when you come from a family of athletes that like his family is. Like they weren't making
Right.
$100 million deals, but like you have an Olympian, you have a professional athlete as your parent, and then you have your brother who's made he's going to make over $100 million in his career minimum. He's probably going to make closer to 250 million by the end of it. I would say if he stays on the
Exactly.
Nuggets, like he's just going
Yeah.
to keep making $100 million deals. Um, yeah, and then I think your sister makes good money. Like she's a WNBA player maybe as well. I don't know. Like
Oh, cool.
I think I could be wrong on that, but they're just all athletes and they're all professionally or Olympic athletes. Like they're doing okay. And for you to make what, a couple thousand, 5, 10, $15,000 extra. I get when you make 450K, that's a lot of money, but like when you come from a family of athletes like he does, I don't think you need to necessarily, like, if you needed the extra $10,000-$15,000, why didn't you hit up your brother? Be like, "Hey, buddy, I kind of in a
Yeah.
spot. Like, I need to pay rent." Like, he's like, "Don't you make 450K?" All right, whatever. I got you. Um, yeah, it's just stupid, and it's gonna keep happening. Obviously, in the NFL,
Yep.
I think we had
Yep.
6 or 7 suspensions preseason last year, due to sports betting. Multiple people missed the entire season. Some players missed half the season, like Jameson Williams of the Detroit Tigers or Detroit Lions. Sorry, I'm in baseball mode, but
There it
um,
is.
yeah, it's just gonna keep happening, and I wonder how the betting rules are going to change for players. Like, are they just going to be able to bet on all the other sports and not their own sport? Is that the solution here? I don't know how dicey this gets because they're going to continue to bet and you're going to continue to suspend them and they're not going to care. They're just going to keep doing the ones that are going to bet are just going to keep doing it.
Right. This could get so much more dicey, like you mentioned, and I don't really see. I don't really see the high of all this. I don't see. I mean, of course, like I said, I did hit a little lay, and it was pretty cool, and a little adrenaline hit. But I was like, okay, this is like a measly, small 3-digit number. You know what I mean? Like, of
Yeah.
course, if you're an athlete and you're making millions of dollars a year, I'm sure that irresponsibly you're putting down a dickload of money, and if it hits, I'm sure that you can feed generations with
Yeah.
that money. But I you can look at it on the other hand too, is like these players, like especially like Calvin Ridley, if you remember, and even Otani, were how much money could they really possibly put down here? Like what, 10K on a parlay or something? How much money can they afford? Because what I've
Well,
noticed with athletes, and
I mean, did you
go
see
ahead.
what Dave Portnoy was putting down on March Madness games this past weekend with DraftKings?
Well, Portnoy
I'm
is
just saying,
he
and
he he throws
he's got
down
the athlete money. Like he made 100.
50K. I think 50K is his unit, right? Or 100K.
I
What is
think
he?
50K is a unit, or maybe it's 20K. I know.
Jesus.
Yeah, and he put down like 600,000 on Holy Cross women this past weekend. He's had multiple $1 million bets. I mean, he put $1 million on Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and then another $1 million on him in the national championship game. Like millions is
Oh my
biggest
goodness.
bet he's ever done, but yeah,
Right.
like these athletes. I mean, these athletes make more than Dave Portnoy did, and Dave Portnoy made 250 million plus
That
probably
shit.
very quickly.
Then I don't
Like
know.
I think you can. The problem is Otani. He paid $4.5 million to that to pay off debts. No one's giving an interpreter a $4.5 million line of credit. Is the problem there?
No.
Jonte Porter,
No.
if
No.
you're
Lots of
you're
holes.
like fixing games for the mob, like the 30 for 30. I mean, you talked about it off air one time, and all the 30 for 30s, like you're playing for the mob here. Like, is there a Toronto mob going on? Are you linking up with Jersey Drake and like making sure that the steak deal keeps going through? Like,
Yeah.
I I mean, Phil Mickelson was betting
Ugh.
for decades and just lost tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
and nothing ever happened to him because he played golf, which is like I feel like it'd be hard to fix that one.
Yeah. Right.
I think that was a
Exactly.
little that one's like the most difficult one probably to fix. So I don't they didn't
Yeah.
do anything about it. And then he just went to live and made another $450 million probably. So
Jesus. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what the solution is with betting. I just know that ESPN is now a betting company because Penn or ESPN bought into Penn or whatever it is. It's ESPN Bet is now the app in select states. It shows up on your ESPN app, regardless if you're in those states or not. You can see it immediately, all of the lines, over unders, all the things. Every broadcast essentially has the lines of the game on there. Sometimes they include player props, like every NFL playoff game had the line on it. Every
Sickos.
ESPN game, every
Oof.
NBC game, every ABC game, they all have lines just on the score bugs, like during the game, during halftime. Like you could just see it. I
Well, if you
Yeah,
remember the what Reese Davis did on that broadcast, you saw the clip. It was in reference to Northwestern and UConn's over and under. He said that this is a risk-free investment if you bet the under on this matchup, and that can get a lot of people in
that's
trouble.
gambling advice.
But
It doesn't say that's not gambling
to his
advice.
credit, yeah, not gambling advice. To his credit, though, the bet did hit.
Okay.
But you can't do that. when we're seeing these worlds collide like this at this rapid of a pace. I genuinely get terrified to wonder what sports is going to look like in 5, 10 years. I hate to sound like an old head, but I'm not talking about what's going on the court, on the field, or whatever, or on the court, or on anywhere. But I'm really worried to see what these athletes are going to do, and what all is going to really come from the ramifications of all this sports betting.
Yeah,
You're going to be seeing, who knows, in years. You might be seeing those kind of mesothelioma TV commercials, like you and your loved ones may be entitled. Like, I don't know how bad this can get. And yeah, we'll leave it there.
it's interesting. We'll see what happens. Gamble on your own accordance, I guess, if you want. I don't know. There's like a
Yep.
1-800 gambler thing if you want to call that if you have a problem. I'd call that if I had a problem. I don't have a problem.
Pointless.
So like, um, yeah, it sucks that it's just shoved in everyone's faces. I think if you just threw a commercial on every game or whatever, just one, instead of having it on the score bug, like the commentators mentioning, like, oh, are they going to hit the over? Like, doesn't matter to a lot of people. I don't bet regularly. Like I only bet when I'm in states that I can bet in, really, and it's only for like a weekend. So I don't really get the juices flowing too much to where I'm like, ooh, gotta know what the over under is on this
Right.
game. It doesn't really matter to me. So yeah, interesting. I'm very curious what this NBA investigation is going to find out. Like if he's not faking it and he just happened to do that and then all of his buddies made money on it, like that's funny. It's just a coincidence, but there's no way it's just a
Right.
coincidence if they're launching an
No,
NBA
no, too many
investigation on it.
things.
Let's if you're into betting and not actually gambling, you can go to use Daily Fantasy Sports app, Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up, and with your first deposit, you can get up to $100 matched with your first deposit. So use code Apollo
There it
at Prize
is.
Picks. Daily Fantasy app, not gambling. It's not gambling advice. It's a daily fantasy app where you pick more or less on rebounds, points, assists, turnovers, steals, blocks, all the things basketball related, baseball, football, hockey, soccer, esports. They got them all. They got it all on there. They even have F1 and NASCAR.
Yeah. Throwing, yeah. I'm gonna throw some money down on how many kills in the Overwatch League my dogs are at the Houston Outlaws are
They
gonna
do that.
get. That's
They,
that's
they do that.
awesome.
You can
Can't
also
wait.
do pit stops in F1 over or more or
Wow,
less 2.7 seconds for like Red Bull typically.
awesome.
Um,
This is beautiful
it's
life.
it's a what a time we live in. Moving on, let's talk about your team for a minute. We've done this a few times this season. It hasn't really
Yep.
been happy
Yep.
most of the time, but we did have an entire Alperen Şengün episode one time. That was fun. Let's talk about Jalen
Yeah.
Green and his ascension over the last, I guess, call it 2.5 weeks, 10 games maybe.
Yeah.
The Rockets are the hottest team in basketball currently. They're currently playing right now. They're one game back of the play-in behind the Golden State Warriors, and Şengün's been hurt the entire time, and all of a sudden they just can't lose. Jalen Green has turned into the number 2 overall pick, superstar kind of lottery pick that you were hoping for. I know it's been 2 weeks. Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo said a lot of words today, but I will let you have the floor. Tell me about your Rockets. Tell me about Jalen Green, how you're feeling. Are you weary? Are you expecting this to continue? What are we thinking?
My initial thought from all this is just thank God I don't have to dog this guy anymore.
It helps.
I'm not gonna sit here and do a full 360, on some if shit hit the fan, are you still a fan kind of vibes. I'm really gonna look back at it, look at what's going on here, and just really be happy with what I'm
Yeah,
seeing. That's because that's all I can do. Um, I get scared for Şengün and him coming back because the immediate knee jerk reaction is Şengün is slowing this team down. We're screwed all around. Jalen Green plays fast. The Rockets play fast, and then you look at Fred Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks, and you're like, wait, no, they don't. Watch the
yeah,
games. So I'm seeing a lot of media outlets, especially there's a lot of media outlets even in Turkey who are watching and they're seeing and I saw one somebody called Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün an incompatible duo, and it's like you can say that, I guess, but I don't. I don't feel like there's much validity to it. So like I said, my immediate reaction was just, holy shit, this guy's playing out of his mind. Of course, the memes were funny about about his potential children that are on the way.
yeah.
He's playing for his family.
That's
He
what he said
said.
in the press conference. Yeah,
Um, But I don't. You know, I'm just so happy that the Rockets are making a big enough push to where we can look back at this season and be like, hey, this was good.
Yeah.
This we needed this year, because it looked like I think we were what 26-35 or 27-34, something like that. It was bad. Um, all hope was lost, and then Jalen Green just starts hitting step back, look away, no look threes, and everything was just fine and dandy. I loved it. But again, going back to the Şengün situation, it's going to be weird because you even mentioned, and I think Bill Simmons and Russillo probably mentioned too, the Ewing theory, where you see this guy who's a potential superstar leave your team, and you don't really know what to do with it at first, but then you finally start to see everybody else, pick up the slack that was left behind, and I don't know, man. Şengün coming back could, of course I want to see it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I don't want to see Alperen Şengün because no matter what, I'm not going to let recency bias affect me. Alperen Şengün is the best player on the floor. Maybe when you're not playing Sabonis, Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, Tatum,
Yeah.
something like that. He's top 25 player in the league, Um, but I'm just really scared for when he does come back, and I hope that we can at least move back to some form of fluidity because you're going to notice the offense is going to start getting a lot slower. They're even saying that he's supposed to come back. He might come back before the end of the regular
Mhm.
season, and especially if there's a big push to be had. If we're, in the 10 seed, that making this crazy comeback. Of course, I'd love to see Alperen Şengün play, but then if let's say 2 or 3 games down the line, we end up losing 2 out of 3, or a weird situation happens, I'll be like, oh, damn, maybe this. I don't want to say might not work, but it's one or the other, and you got to figure out some sort of system where both of them can thrive, and maybe that incompatible duo that some of the Turkish media is saying could be true, but not right now. It needs a we're getting some barking in the
There
background,
it is.
but I'm really happy with what Şengün is turning into, and excuse me, what Jalen Green is turning into, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the rest of the season holds. We got probably 10 more games or so, and the schedule is going to get
It
crazy.
is.
We got Dallas twice. I think we got the Warriors, we got the Heat, the Timberwolves, the Thunder. My head's gonna explode, but I can't wait.
Yeah, you've got a lot of teams that are in a must win situations. Like Dallas must win to get into the top 6 and not have to be in the play in. The Warriors obviously have a situation where they have to continue to win in order just to be in 10th with only a 1-game lead
Right.
now. It's interesting. Jalen Green has looked, I wouldn't say different. Like he's not playing different than he had been. I guess he's not forcing as many shots, but he's still playing quick. He's still putting up 9 threes a game, and he's just making 3% of them right now in the last how many ever since the win streak started.
Insane.
It's interesting how Şengün not being in the lineup has opened up the floor for the Rockets, where you put Jabari Smith Jr. at the 5. Then obviously you just have athletes everywhere. And right now, obviously with Tari Eason out, Cam Whitmore, I don't know if he's back yet, but you've had some injuries, but you have spacing in the floor with just a bunch of athletes. And like you have a defensive anchor in Dylan Brooks and then Jabari Smith Jr. It's where you don't have to rely on all the guards necessarily to do a lot of heavy lifting on defensive side of the ball. So that opens up his offensive side of the ball. He had like 41, 4, and 4 the other night, 42 the night before, or a couple nights before then. As of right now, they're 35 and 35. It's Monday, March 25th at 8:42 p.m. So they're playing currently against the Trailblazers. They were up one last time I looked. But yeah, a lot more like the Rockets that we thought we were going to get this season after the first month or so. We're like, oh, okay, the young guys got it. I think the spacing is interesting for Jalen Green. When Şengün comes back, can you tweak the offense to where he's not just getting ready to post up every time? Can you put him on in the outside and just say, hey, act as a decoy? Like we're going to put out a shooting video of you making 10 threes in a row in the corner during practice. It's like, so everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, you can do it, but you just don't do it. Like the Mavericks do it all the time with Derek Lively Jr. Or the second he can make 45 threes in the corner in a row, just like no problem. And it's a rainbow shot, and you're like, this is pretty. Why doesn't he do this in the game? And then every time he's just in the post, I'm like, all right, no spacing, it's fine. Um, so maybe there's an effect where Udoka can put Şengün in the corner. You can bring him up to the free throw line, and you can run the pick and pop and the pick and roll with Jalen Green because his athleticism has been showing. His shot selection has been better over the last 10 games, I'd say. it's interesting to say. I don't think there's a Ewing theory involved here. I think not having Shingun on your floor is probably a bad thing. Like, he's a very good basketball player. Like, you would rather him be on the floor than off of it. I think it's more of just an offensive tweak that Udoka's got to figure out. Like, how do we keep this version of Jalen Green while implementing Shingun back into the lineup and getting him touches as well? Like, you don't have to run the Jalen Green
Right.
stuff every time with the spacing and everything. You could put Shingun in the post half the time, but the other half the time, let him open up, let Jalen Green get his touches, let him get his shots, his playmaking ability, because he's not going to get you 10 assists tonight, but I guess he could if you get Shingun back. Like, more scores on the. I don't know. The Rockets are fun, and I hate them. So um, I like
Yeah,
them, but I want to hate them. That's the problem. I like this,
exactly.
but I know I need to
Bring
start
back
hating
the
them for the Texas rivalry beef. We need to start.
Yeah, there you
I already
go.
hate the Spurs. I already hate Wimby. I'm fine with that. I'm back to hating Wimby, by the way, after the last game against them. It's just every time the ball got swatted out of his hand, he could just grab his face, and then they do it in slow mo, and Kyrie just cleanly stole the ball, but they would call a foul on Kyrie for hitting his face. And I'm like, Wimby, you're just a. Yeah, I'm gonna bring the French back into this. Yeah, Jalen Green's been awesome the last how many ever games. The Rockets have been fun. I hope that Shingun is able to come back this season because he's been awesome. And I want to see what it looks like if Udoka can figure that out. So, and I hope you make the play in
Yeah,
just
that's
for pure chaos reasons. And my,
oh, come
you know,
on. I can't wait. I can't wait. Especially if the Mavericks go down to a
no,
7.
no, no, no. We're going up to the 5. Trust me.
Ooh, wouldn't that
We're
be
going up to the
fun?
5.
Wouldn't that
We're
be
going to take the
fun?
5 seed.
Yeah.
Clippers down.
Shout out the Orlando Magic at the number 4 seed
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Um,
This
Paolo,
is this is good stuff coming
Paolo's
out.
doing things that like literally only LeBron, Jordan, Luca have done in their careers. So, pretty good. Yeah, the Magic are very
Yep.
fun, and I can't wait for the collision course of the New York Knicks and Orlando Magic 4-5 series. It's going to be incredible, the
Lord,
first matchup.
need
But
that.
yeah, I'm happy for the Rockets fans. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the ones in our group chats. They're enjoying the moment as you should, because this is kind of the team that you were wanting to have this season. It's like around 500,
Right.
at least fun to watch, and you're not getting angry every night. So I think we're on that path right now, which is good. You're 35 and
Good.
35, and hopefully you
Good.
can beat the Trailblazers. Which, if you don't, we're gonna have another issue to talk about next week. But
Right. Right.
coincided with this Rockets
Man.
upswing is a downswing from the latest dynasty in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors. They are one game up on the Rockets right now. I think they were like one game above 500, really, and pretty much everybody's playing right now. They got Wiggins, they got Draymond Green, they got Klay Thompson, they got Steph Curry healthy. He played 30 minutes the other night, and they lost against the Timberwolves by 4 points, which was very funny. And Steve Kerr's like, I can't rely on Steph every night. Like, buddy, you're gonna have to if you want to make the fucking
You
play
have a
in.
choice.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. Like, just this isn't. I don't know. It's very funny for the Warriors to downfall, and they're paying like $300 million in luxury tax. It's just tremendous. It's
Awesome.
so funny. It's so funny that
It feels
this is happening,
perfect.
because this happens to every dynasty. It never ends well, except for one time, essentially in Chicago. But turns out, after we watching The Last Dance, it didn't actually end well. It ended the season before the season, and everybody hated each other. So at least they won the title, because this team's not winning the title. Golden State Warriors are dead.
No, they are almost officially
Yeah,
dead. Like they're 5 and 3/4 feet down. They're not even clawing back anymore. They're
yeah,
unconscious. So it feels really nice to actually get to this point because we've been talking about it every so
hmm
often throughout the season, and I don't think that it can really get much better than this until unless the Rockets pass them. This feels perfect. The Warriors are blowing it. The Jazz blew it over the past 2 weeks as
hmm
well. They're not in playoff contention anymore. They're already under 500, and we have 10, 15 games left. They're cooked. It's over. Um, Man, I love it. I love this shit. Baseball season's around the
hmm
corner. I'm gonna start going to minor league baseball games, dollar hot dog days.
Right.
Everything is just gearing up to be a perfect summer. And even if the Rockets don't go deep in the postseason, as long as they get there, everything will be fine. I'm so happy.
Yeah, because if you can get to the play-in, you probably get like one of the Lakers, the Suns, the Mavs. I don't know who else is right there, but like the Pelicans.
teams
Oh,
that are
maybe
way
the
better than
Kings. They're
us.
somewhere in there. But like we've seen you beat the Phoenix Suns. Did that a few weeks ago. Anyone can beat the Lakers, really. If Luka has a bad night, then you could beat the Mavs, but we're gonna beat the 5 seeds. I don't even worry about that one. And I think anybody can beat the Kings. They just don't want to admit it. Which we watched you beat the Kings back-to-back games earlier in the season before anything really happens. So, yeah, the Warriors just like, regardless if they make the play in or not, the Warriors are dead. They're not even if they make it out of the play in. Okay, you're gonna go play the Nuggets in round one. Good fucking luck. You don't have any size. You have no one to guard Jokic. You have no one to really guard Jamal Murray anymore because Klay Thompson is not who he was 5 years ago. So, yeah, I mean they're just dead, and it's very funny, and I'm enjoying every bit of it. Plans.
And big brain move. I think the Rockets have beaten the Nuggets 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 times this season. So if the Rockets sneak in at that 8 seed, I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's possible. Jeff Green knows that team better than anybody else. You know.
Yeah, and Udoka's a defensive mastermind, and he can just figure out how to pester your best player. Which I think the Mavericks did that during the Kyrie buzzer beater game. They were just
Right.
hitting Jokic essentially on every pick and roll. They were just making sure that like a shoulder went into him, an elbow, a wrist, something hit him just to make him uncomfortable. And I think Udoka did that a lot with the Celtics. I think he's starting to figure that out with the Rockets, and obviously you have Dylan Brooks, an instigator on the team. Like you have the ability to do that. I think that's the book is out on Jokic. It's just being more physical with him than he can be with you,
Right.
within reason, without getting caught by the refs,
Still,
essentially.
still not even close. He's the greatest basketball player on this earth right now. I mean, you saw that behind the back curve or over the shoulder curveball that he threw to
Oh
Aaron
yeah,
Gordon. That was
disgusting.
probably one of the greatest passes I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I've seen much of a better one. Maybe the Jason Williams,
Yes,
elbow
yeah.
tap. That
I mean,
seriously.
Luka and Jokic have some of the most incredible passes that we've seen just this season. Like in NBA history, they
Yeah.
just had a number of them, like 5 each. It's crazy. Um,
Awesome.
And then speaking of the Nuggets, they're first to 50 wins in the West. The West is a fucking gauntlet this year, and it sucks if you're a fan of the
Dude.
Western teams. But they're first to 50 wins. We've got, I don't know, call it 3 weeks left in the season. I think the season ends around April 13th, April 14th for most teams. So good for the Nuggets. They're going to be they should be the number one seed. It would have been interesting to see OKC or Minnesota be the number one seed, but it wouldn't have felt right. Because it would have always felt like if the
Exactly.
Nuggets were the 3 seed, they were like, yeah, well, that's just really the number one seed. And now it sucks for the teams that are that won more games that have to play the Nuggets first. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think what's great about it is in the West, every single team, I think in the top 8 or top 7, no, we'll say top 7 or something like that, has hit 40 wins before they hit 30
Yeah.
losses. So this is legit. Remember how weak, I don't want to say weak the West was last year, but record wise, I think you only had like 2 teams above 50 and everybody else had like 45 or something like that. It was weird. Um, but this is really just showing us that you don't need to be an elite conference to have a 60 win team. I don't think the Nuggets will hit 60. I think they might hit 57, maybe 56, 57. But dude, the West is legit. I can't wait. Every single postseason matchup looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, Pacers Cavs might, like we mentioned a couple episodes ago, might not be the greatest, but almost every single matchup I see, even if you jumble some teams around, I'm like, this is good. I want to see these
Yeah.
matchups.
Because every team at least has an interesting thing about them and could potentially win an
Right.
NBA Finals on the West side. It's like every team is just like 1 through, I guess, 7. I don't know if Sacramento is necessarily there, but like Phoenix, Dallas, they all have superstar power where they could win an NBA title. Denver's already won the title. OKC's the young kids that have all the lottery picks and won a bunch of games and are outplaying what their expectations were this season. They could win an NBA title. Minnesota has Anthony Edwards, the most marketable man in the NBA that the NBA is not marketing at all whatsoever.
Yep.
And have a great defense and have won a bunch of games. They can win an NBA title. And then obviously the Clippers. You have the super team in LA. They can win an NBA title. And then you got the Lakers that have the corpse of LeBron and Anthony Davis that if they wake up for a solid 2.5 months, they could win an NBA title. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's terrifying if you're a fan of the Western Conference teams. It's awful. It's a gauntlet.
Um,
I'm
I
watching a
don't
game
like
right
the
now.
image
That's
in
why I
my
keep
head.
looking over here. We're losing to the Jazz. The Mavericks are losing to the Jazz. And it's like, This
PU.
sucks, but we'll probably win the game. So we'll see.
The image of Torian Prince winning an NBA title, it will never sit right with me. But as much
Yeah,
I would love to see LeBron get another.
sure, whatever.
But I don't think it's in the cards
No,
this
I don't
season.
think. Yeah,
Not even
mm-mm.
close.
Not with
Not even
LeBron
close.
being the best
But
player
it's
on the
okay.
team, but it's fine. It's enough of the West. Let's talk about March Madness. We just watched 4 straight days of college basketball. Probably the most college basketball I've watched in a very long time. I'm not a college basketball guy. Hand up, it's on me. Um, my Mississippi State Bulldogs, they let me down. Game one, or with everyone watching.
Damn.
I found out that the Trent
Yep.
guy, that's actually partnered up with Book It with Trent, or Book It Trent, something like that. I don't know. He's like an all time terrible better, and if he bets on your team, you just know that it's over. I learned halfway through the first quarter or first half with the Mississippi State Michigan State game that Trent had bet $1,000 on the money line for Mississippi State, and it was over. As soon as I saw that, it was very much
Jesus.
over. Vibes were down. I didn't watch college basketball for a number of hours after that. I was You were very angry with me, but college basketball was had. We're on to the Sweet 16 this weekend. Your Houston Cougars survive a thriller. They're on to the Sweet 16 against my Duke Blue Devils.
Man.
Rivalry renewed. We're back, baby.
Yeah,
My alma
sure,
mater.
sure. All around this March Madness has been great. A lot of people are upset that it's more so of a quote unquote chalk Sweet 16, but that just makes for even better matchups. You're going to have weekends where the favorites are going to win,
Yeah.
and that's just how it's going to go. I would much rather. I mean, I don't want to sound boring, but I would much rather see a 1-1-1-1 Final Four than a like we had
No,
last year.
get
I don't
Purdue
want
the
to see
fuck
a
out of
San
here.
Diego
I watched
State
the full
UConn.
Purdue game, the round of 32 game. They're the most boring team of all time. Get Purdue.
And they still dropped 106.
I
It was
It
crazy.
was the most boring 106 I've ever seen.
I know.
Get them off my screen. Whoever can beat them, please just do it before they get to the Final Four. Don't let them have a platform. Don't let
Exactly.
them have a platform. Let everyone else have a platform. I don't care who wins it. Just not Purdue. Anybody but Purdue and UNC,
Right.
because fuck UNC. But um,
Right. There you go. Duke Brotherhood
yeah,
for life. It you had the guy from Oakland getting NIL deal an hour after the game. A first four matchup guy in Grambling State get a NIL an hour after the game. Also, they could pay me nothing as long as I got the amount of wings that spread on that table. Are you kidding me? Did you see the spread on that
it was
table?
incredible.
That was like 5 to-go boxes, dude. I will say whatever you want, besides a
I will
couple
say,
things,
like,
for that
most
whole spread.
D1 schools, that's what they get after games. Having worked in the athletic department, like, the spreads after the games for D1 teams, like, Alabama's was always better
Wow.
than everybody else's when they came to Mississippi State for football, but, like, the amount of fucking Zaxby's that I've seen just consumed after a game by a D1 athlete is incredible. Like, they take 4 or 5
Oh my
boxes and they just
god.
go on the bus and they eat all of it. It's incredible. Um,
That's
but yeah,
awesome.
we had Kentucky lose to Oakland because one white guy made 14 threes. It was awesome. Auburn lost to Yale. Like, just kind of just got dominated in the last 3 minutes or 4 minutes or so. Like, Yale
Yeah.
comes back, takes the lead,
Yeah.
and then they're just like, "This is our lead. You're not taking it from us." Whatever his name is, elbowed a guy in the first like 3 minutes of the game against Yale. He should have been ejected from the Mississippi State game in the SEC tournament for doing the same thing.
Talk to him.
It took him 10 minutes to decide if it was a technical or not. They gave him a technical, but they didn't kick him out of the game. They should have had like 3 technicals, but at that point, I don't know how he was still in the game. But against Yale, he does the same thing, running down the court because the guy was messing with him essentially. And he let him get under his skin. And on the way back after a rebound, he throws an elbow into his side on the Yale. And the Yale guy's like, whoa. They caught it immediately, go to the cameras, they're like, yeah, dude, get out of here. And he runs off like he didn't do anything wrong. Fuck Auburn, dude.
This is incredible.
Sanford gets screwed over by the refs in round one against Kansas with a clean block. They're down
Oh,
three, I believe, 89-92 maybe, or 91-89. Um,
yeah, it was close.
they get a clean block with like 45 seconds left or so. Refs call a foul, and it was the most clean block of all time on a dunk, like a runaway dunk. Like, should have just laid it in, and he probably would have had it. But clean block, they call a foul. Kansas gets free throws. They go up by 4, and it was over. My note was that Arizona looks like a really good team, like incredible.
To my knowledge, they didn't have a great regular season, but
They
I
look
think
good.
that I think they might be good. Well, I mean that's the result of having 24-year-olds on your
Yeah, that
team. I
helps.
mean, look at UNC as well. I mean, I would much rather see this than, like I said, Cinderellas. In I love the George Mason runs,
Yeah.
the feels like 96 runs that you mentioned. It's cool. But sorry,
Yeah,
there you
they
go,
were a 5
there you
seed
go.
that year as well, so they were, like, kinda good.
Oh,
Yeah.
still, I was gonna say, yeah,
They were
a 5
they were
seed, that's
they were
understandable.
good that year. We had Eric
Okay,
Eric Dampier was
okay.
a center on the team, so,
Okay, okay. I'm really just kind of shocked that the first couple days were just fireworks, and then we had day 3 where it was all the favorites won, which is fine,
and
and day
blowout
4,
fashion too. It wasn't just the favorites won, the favorites
yeah,
just killed everybody. I mean, Duke kills, JMU, Purdue killed whoever they played, like, it's just a gross day of games, like, I didn't enjoy it Sunday.
yeah. I think that U of H and A&M saved
That's
it, but
fair.
it makes me really
Yeah.
wonder: is U of H elite? Are we gonna get shit on by Duke, or are we just gonna go in fully healthy, fully comfortable after 4 or 5 days of rest and just beat them by 20 like the team that we should?
I don't I
I
think
don't know.
Texas A&M has some cult magic going on because they were the worst three-point shooting team in, like, the history of college basketball in the last 10 years.
27%.
Just
Yep.
god awful. They were 17% in SEC games alone, like, throughout the SEC season, and then all of a sudden against Mississippi
Wow.
State during the last game of the season, I think, or second to last game of the season, they shot 75% from 3, and they shot 20 something threes. Like, they just made everything. They scored 90 points on a Mississippi State team that didn't allow more than, like, 65 over the season. Like, for the most part, they
Oh
they
my
really
god.
averaged, like, 63 or 65 points per game on defense. Alabama scored 90 on them, at one point earlier in the season, but, like, no one really scored more than 75, 80 on them. Kentucky did it as well, but,
Right.
like, they put up, like, 95 on Mississippi State in a SEC just matchup in Texas A&M. It was they have some kinda cult
Yeah.
magic on them where something happens and they're like, "Yep, we're just gonna shoot everything and it's gonna work, even though we actually can't do this." It's like Space Jam, except for it ran out at
Something
the end.
exactly. It's something about that yell practice that they do. Did you see the when the arena was empty? It was just one kid just
Oh
screaming.
god.
Those are always my
A&M's on my
favorite.
shit list after this baseball weekend, by the way. Fuck A&M
Yeah.
fans.
Oh
No,
no.
I went to war, Texas
Let it
A&M
out.
Twitter on baseball side. An umpire chest bumped a Mississippi State player at the end of the game after he called a
What?
strike 3 that was at a neck to end the game in the ninth inning. It was a 5-run game, so, like, whatever, it was pretty much over, but, um, the kid, Hunter Hines, he turns to the ump, says, "Hey, it's not a strike, you can't fucking end the game on that," and he's walking away, like, he's walking backwards away from the ump, and the ump comes up and chest bumps him. Tells him to get the fuck out of the way. And then he starts yelling at him again, and he turns around and starts pointing at him. And I was like, and nothing from the SEC or NCAA about this umpire. SEC
Wow.
umpires are the worst
Wow.
people of all time. Like, I had to interact with them a lot when I worked at Mississippi State. Like, terrible. Most of them out of the 3 that you would get every weekend, you may be lucky and get one guy that's like a nice and general human being. The other 2 are complete assholes and hate you and hate society and hate the world and just everything in it. So, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic when an umpire touches a player. So I got into it with Texas A&M fans because Kendall Rogers tweets out Texas A&M takes a series from Mississippi State. Great showing for the number 7 team in the country. I was like, should we talk about the strike zone? Because it was awful the whole game. Then A&M fans just started coming after me, and I was like, "Oh, buddy, I got time today. I got time. I got the Twitter fingers today, boys and girls. Come here, Colt. I don't care. We're the real maroon school in the SEC. Get the fuck out." Um,
Oh wow.
yeah, I don't care, dude. Texas A&M just pissed me off. Sorry, it's a very long tangent there. Yeah, the
No, you
Texas
got it.
A&M Houston game was incredible. That was a great. That
Yeah.
was sick.
Yeah. What was his name? Wade Taylor.
Yeah,
He just shot them out of the game. What did he shoot? 3 for 26, 5 for 26.
yeah, yeah.
This is just incredible work. The first shot he took, I was like, okay, you stepped into it. This was at the end of the fourth
Mhm.
quarter to try and force overtime, or I think maybe to actually win it because they had to foul again.
Yeah.
Anyway, the first shot he took and he shoots lefty
Mhm.
right, so it kind of just looked a little funky at first, which I was like, okay, this is a fine shot. And then he just gets his own rebound or gets a pass out and just shoots it up with his right,
Yeah.
like one handed, hand in his face. Everybody's in his face. I was just like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? And then of course the pass of a lifetime, which is almost kind of, you remember the JJ Redick video where he gets
Mhm.
ejected for passing the ball kind of like
Yeah.
sideways. He does like a little swipe on it. We saw that play out in real time, and Garcia made the
Mhm.
shot, and it was sick.
It was.
Um, I was screaming my ass off last night, but I was like, well, if U of H is going to choke, I at least, it's a fun ender, like how the Michigan, I think, was at the Elite Eight game or Sweet 16,
Maybe.
2018, 2019, Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
At least it'll end in a fun way, or if we collapse in overtime, yada yada yada. But the craziest thing about that game was just every single person on the bench was in.
That was
Four guys
strange.
fouled out.
Yeah.
You had Elvin, this I think he was a senior walk on or whatever the situation was. He shot 4 free throws this entire season, bricked the first one very slightly. It was a little
Mhm.
long. Swished the second one. We ended up going by 2 possessions, pretty much. I think it was 4 points, and we just didn't look back. And I was just so shocked at the resiliency of this team. And I feel like each year I get reminded that Jim Nance went to U of H, and it just feels that much sweeter. Um, this is my brotherhood.
Yeah.
This is my version of my brotherhood. And I'm just so happy I get to see it with this team, because I'm not saying this is that our window's closing, but a lot of our guys are seniors. Are you going to have guys take their fifth year? Can they even do the fifth year? I don't know. Yeah, the U of H is doing amazing work, but I just hope that it lasts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and A&M shot 45 free throws, I believe, in that game, and obviously it goes to overtime,
Yeah,
but 45 free throws in a collegiate basketball game would drive me. I didn't watch the whole game. I tuned in the last 5 minutes or so because you said U of H game immediately. Get there. And I said, "Yes, sir. I'll be right on it." I think I was watching hockey, and I was watching the soccer game last night, USA Dos a 0 versus Mexico, CONCACAF champions 2 in a row. Not a big deal. But
yep,
yeah, I turned that on, watched the last 5 minutes on my phone. I was like, this is brutal. This is a lot. This is awful. I was feeling for you. I texted you right after the A&M guy made the shot at the end of the game, the buzzer beater to tie it. I was like, yeah, I just melt into a puddle if I was you. Like, I wouldn't be able to like
yeah.
function as a Mississippi State fan. If that
It
happens to
was
me,
it
I'm
was
like, this is
gross.
the most Mississippi State thing of all time, and I just would go nonverbal for the next 24 hours. But yeah, March Madness. Houston's in, Duke's in for now. We'll see how that matchup goes on Friday. It's in Dallas. I thought about going, and then I looked at ticket prices and said, nope, never mind. I'm good. I will watch from the
Yeah,
comfort of my own
Jesus
couch
Christ,
at 8:40 p.m. I think is what time the game is, or 8:20 or something. It's gonna be fucking brutal.
awesome.
Yeah, it would have been a stupid idea to go because I would have been asleep in my chair half the time. But March Madness was fun for I think the first 2 days was a lot of fun. The third day had some decent amount of fun. The fourth day was like no bueno until the Houston game, essentially, which started at what
Exactly.
7:40 p.m. Like,
You want to talk about the 3 hour games that we've mentioned before? I didn't see it at first because you mentioned to me off air, like, oh, 3 hour games in the SEC happen all the time. I was like, I
dude,
don't.
I told
What are you
you it's
talking about?
brutal.
And then I saw a 3 hour game go down last night. I was like, oh, this is what he's been talking about this entire
It
time.
just gets brutal,
We're
man.
cooked.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
just it's awful. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in the Sweet 16. I guess we'll have a well, we won't talk to each other on Friday. Is that what's going to happen? We're just going to
Just keep
all right.
pushing. You got Jared McCain, TikTok guy,
TikTok
and
God.
U of H U of H unit. Let's see how it goes.
I watched one Jared McCain TikTok edit, and it wasn't his. Like, it was an edit where he's singing, and then it goes into that song, and then his highlights and everything. It's just an incredible TikTok edit. I watched that one time, and I gave it a like because I was like, this person deserves a like. That was good. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Literally, I'm not fucking with you. 17 of the next 20 videos were all Jared McCain videos. And it
Awesome.
was mainly
Awesome. He's a
and it was
basketball
mainly his.
he's a basketball industry plant, dude. It's
I was
incredible.
like, TikTok, they saw that I liked it one time. They're like, hey, would you like it 17 out of 20 more times? 'Cause that's what
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna get. At
Oh
one point, I was
yeah.
like, all right, I think I've had my fill for the morning. Thank you very much. Yeah, college basketball, March Madness, full swing. We'll see what happens this weekend. We'll report back with Raptors Jonte Porter and NBA investigation if we get anything more this week, Wednesday or Thursday when we come back. Let's hope your Rockets win. Let's hope our Mavs win. Let's keep the vibes going. Basketball's cooking right now. Not gonna lie, it's cooking.
I'm with it. I'm so happy.
Because
This is
like
March.
a week or two ago, we were like, yeah, basketball's just kind of like, it's there. Whatever. Baseball's coming. That's fun. I don't know. I know baseball's happening in 3 days. I'm very excited about it. I am. Trust me. Basketball, it's cooking right now. It's the vibes are at an all-time high right now in basketball, even though Mississippi State just broke my heart on the first game, but it's fine. I expected it.
I'm just happy to be around it.
I mean, we made the tournament 2 years in a row, so we can say that.
There you go.
Brutal. This has been
I love the sport.
Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast where we talk about college basketball sometimes. Sponsored by Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. Go check them out. Great people, great wings, great beer at Big City Wings. Shout out to Celebrity Mint. Go see celebritymint.com and at the Celebrity Mint on social media to check out their graded legal tender collectibles of Mike Tyson, Ric Flair, and more. And go check out our daily fantasy sponsor, Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up. And when you deposit some cash into your account, you can get up to $100 matched on your first deposit with Prize Picks using code Apollo. This has been Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast.